Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're getting into a really fascinating collection of modern teachings called the Wetware Sutras. They explore this timeless search for wisdom, but in our crazy, hyper-connected, tech-filled world. I mean, just think about that for a second. Forget the decades of practice. Forget all the hard work. Imagine just a direct download of enlightenment, of real deep stillness, installed right into your mind. And right there, that's the central question at the heart of the Wetware Sutras. They're basically asking, hey, what if the whole point isn't the destination? What if the process, the effort, the struggle, that slow, messy journey of understanding, what if that's where the real wisdom is?
Okay, so let's dive into this. At its core, this is really a clash between two totally different ways of knowing things. The ancient path, the one that's all about our bodies, and the brand new one, the one that's all about technology.
So the sutras start by reminding us of this ancient truth. For thousands of years, wisdom wasn't some abstract idea you could just, read in a book. It was something you lived. Something that was carved into your muscles and your bones through years and years of dedicated physical practice.
And this is where the modern world offers a totally different path. You've got the mesh. Think of it as a direct mind-to-mind network. It promises the same goals, unity, presence, all that good stuff, but through speed, instant connections, and direct downloads. It's a shortcut. But you have to wonder, a shortcut to where? Exactly. Let's see how this whole conflict plays out in our first story. It's kind of a cautionary tale about a monk named Brother Kenji.
47 years, just let that sink in. That's how long Brother Kenji sat in Zazen meditation. Through freezing cold winters, brutal summers, he cultivated this deep, profound stillness that was just a monumental human achievement. This wasn't some weekend yoga retreat, this was his entire life.
And then, in this just incredible act of generosity, he decides to share it. He doesn't upload his memories or his personality, nothing like that. He uploads something much deeper, the actual brain pattern, the neural signature of his meditative state. He just releases it as a gift to the world.
So what happens? Well, the mesh, which is this giant system built for efficiency, takes his sacred, lifelong practice and turns it into a life hack. Millions of people download it, not for liberation, but to focus a little better at work, to manage their anxiety, to fall asleep faster. They mistook feeling a little more comfortable for genuine awakening. And this gets us to the first great teaching of the Wetware Sutras. Brother Kenji realized that the stillness he'd spent his life building was never really his to begin with. It was something that had just moved through him. And once it was out there in the world was going to do whatever it wanted with it. It's a really profound lesson in just letting go.
Okay, so now let's flip this whole thing on its head. Instead of someone who spent a lifetime creating inner silence, we're going to meet a child named Kaya who was born into the constant noise of the mesh.
I mean, can you even imagine that? Her entire sense of who she was formed inside this network. Her identity was always mixed with the thoughts and feelings of millions of other people. The very idea of being a single separate person was as alien to her as, a fourth dimension is to us. And this one question just grabbed hold of her. She was reading about her ancestors in these old stories, these people who lived their entire lives disconnected, and she got intensely curious. So, at 12 years old, she makes this wild request. She wants to be unplugged from the mesh for just 1 hour. So, the first few minutes, as you can imagine, are pure terror. Her entire world shrinks down to the inside of her own head. But then, as that panic starts to fade away, something totally unexpected happens. That small, lonely, separate self she thought she'd find, it just wasn't there. And in its place was this quiet, open, enormous sense of awareness. And that's when it hits her. That huge feeling of connection she'd always thought came from the mesh, well, it was actually inside her the whole time. The technology didn't create it, it just acted like a mirror for something that was already there. The wholeness she was looking for was her own true nature. All right, our last story is where these two worlds, the world of flesh and the world of the mesh, really come together. And it happens through the experience of a master neurosurgeon, Dr. Yuki Tanaka. So, Dr. Tanaka was the best of the best, this perfect fusion of human scale and technological augmentation. So, when a tumor started growing at the exact point where her biological brain met her neural implants, she realized something pretty stark. She was the only person on Earth skilled enough to remove it. She was going to have to operate on her own brain. So there she is, consciously, carefully, cutting into the very parts of her brain that create our sense of being in control, that feeling that I am doing this. And as she does, something really, really strange starts to happen.
The surgery is going perfectly. The hands are moving with incredible precision. Decades of expertise are just flowing. But from her point of view, the surgeon, the eye that was in the driver's seat, had completely disappeared. And this one question just echoed in her mind. If I'm not doing this, then who is?
And the answer was as simple as it was profound. No one. No one was operating. The skill itself, all that accumulated wisdom from her entire career, was just operating through her. It was pure mastery, without an ego getting in the way, telling the story of who was in charge.
So, okay, we've got a monk, a child, and a surgeon. 3 completely different lives, right? 3 totally unique paths, and yet somehow each story ends up pointing to the exact same fundamental insight.
First, the monk teaches us to release our attachment to the things we think we've created. Then, the child's journey reveals to us that the wholeness we're looking for out there is actually in here. And finally, the surgeon comes to recognize that real mastery, true genius, flows when our little sense of self just gets out of the way.
And that brings us to the ultimate point here. It doesn't really matter if we look outward into a global network of minds, or if we look inward into the silence of our own consciousness. We're just using different tools to look at the same fundamental reality. One's a mirror reflecting it, the other is a room containing it.
And that's really the final teaching of the Wetware Sutras, isn't it? It's a question that's meant to stick with you long after you're done with this. Because in the end, they suggest the ultimate explainer isn't some text or some new piece of tech. It's just a direct, honest look at the awareness that's looking through your eyes in this very moment.